And there's going to be a lot of fighting because there's a lot of money at stake, right? And if you have that much money at stake, no one's going to go easily, and there's going to be lots of lobbying. As I get older, I'm more of the opinion that many of these 501c3s, many of these nonprofit charity organizations, they start out with a good idea, and then they run out of money. And so then they go look around for someone to give them money. And so I think like 40 or 50 years ago, someone gave money to a Greenpeace type organization to lobby against nuclear power. And probably it was the oil and gas industry that gave a lot of money to these charities to lobby against nuclear power, to shut down the nuclear power industry. And then ironically, another 30 or 40 years, the solar and the wind lobby gives money to them to lobby against the oil and gas industry. And then when they run out of that, other crypto promoters are giving money to these environmental lobbyists. They're just giving them huge amounts of money to lobby against Bitcoin. If you're an environmentalist, you would be focused upon saving the trees or saving the seals or doing something in order to cultivate parks and the like. But 99.92% of all the carbon comes from something other than energy that fuels proof of work. So I actually think it's the other crypto promoters that are generating all of the attack points. They're generating all the propaganda. They're feeding it. They're funneling it through academics. They're funneling it through politicians. They're funneling it through 501c3s and through environmental activists. And so you have to just follow the money. They're funneling it through their lobbyists. And I think their agenda is they're all promoting unregistered securities. So all of these other cryptos are for the most part unregistered securities. And so you have to have a justification for promoting a crypto token that doesn't use energy. If you understood securities law, and if you thought about physics, you would realize that when you slurp the energy out of the commodity, it becomes a security. I think that there are some crypto organizations that are lobbying both sides of the fence. You have an entire crypto industry and a lot of crypto promoters that they've got this kind of existential problem, and there's no way to defend it. I mean, there really is no defense to creating a token, giving it to yourself, selling it to the general public, and not disclosing. And so the best way to deal with it is change the subject. So we changed the subject to energy usage is bad. And the reason that you should let us exist, and the reason you buy our token, is because Bitcoin is bad for the environment, right? Well, it's bad for the environment in the same way that oranges and meat and buildings and cars are bad for the environment. They all use energy. In fact, hospitals use energy, right? So if I went to you and I said, I'm going to eliminate your hospital and I'm going to replace it with a virtual imaginary hospital that's going to actually lower the cost of healthcare, and I'm going to fix your avatar up, whenever your avatar has an imaginary heart attack, I'll give you imaginary surgery and I'll make you imaginary healthy, and you could pay me in imaginary coins, and then you'll go home imaginary happy. Sure, you could do it, but it's ridiculous. The market is going to become more and more educated, and as the market gets more educated, it's going to see the virtues of Bitcoin as the dominant digital commodity, and Bitcoin's going to get stronger. I think that regulators, as they focus on this, the more when you focus on it and you bring a lot of attention to bear, I think they're going to realize that they need to segment the market into digital currencies, digital securities, digital commodities, and they're going to set precedents by their rulings where it's going to become more clear. It's already becoming clear to institutional investors. And you can see, for example, you're reading about the comments of the chair of the SEC in the Wall Street Journal on the front page, and you're reading about it in Bloomberg. If you roll the clock back 2 years, I don't think Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal really understood the difference between 10,000 crypto tokens. But I think today it's becoming critical for multi-billion-dollar investors and big banks and big regulators and politicians to understand the difference between a US dollar stablecoin and crypto property in the form of a Bitcoin and a crypto token that's a security. There will be a lot of sound and fury for the next couple of years while we sort it out. But I have confidence that the world will eventually sort it out because there are physics involved here and there's a lot of rationale involved here. If you think about it, first people need to understand why Bitcoin is a superior crypto asset to every other crypto asset for a long-term store of value or for sovereignty. That was the first thing MicroStrategy went through. The second thing they need to understand is, why is Bitcoin superior to gold as a bearer instrument or a commodity or precious metal store of value? And so that's going to be the second stage. And the third stage is, why is Bitcoin as crypto property superior to other forms of property? Crypto world has about $1 trillion worth of money floating around, and we're trying to sort out which is the superior crypto asset, right? And for what? And the truth is, I really believe the killer application is a Lightning wallet on 8 billion smartphones that has US dollars as a short-term medium of exchange and payment network, and BTC as a store of value. And it runs on Lightning, and then it is secured by the underlying Bitcoin base layer. That is going to be the voice over IP moment, or the web, the Netscape moment, when you actually have the ability to download a Lightning wallet in 30 seconds and trade US dollars with all 8 billion people on the planet friction free. When that happens, that'll go viral, and hundreds of millions of people will first grab that in the first year, and then billions of people will grab that. Technology is going to play a role here in spreading things, if you look at that. But from the investor point of view, there's $1 trillion that's being argued over in the crypto world. There's $10 trillion in the precious metals world of gold. There's more than $100 trillion of property. And then, of course, ultimately, there's $500 trillion of other assets. And so what we're going to go through is just a very intense education process. And there's going to be a lot of fighting because there's a lot of money at stake, right? And if you have that much money at stake, no one's going to go easily. And there's going to be lots of lobbying and lots of positioning. Ultimately, the market will decide. And the thing that will cause Bitcoin to win is that everyone that understands proof of work is going to realize that Bitcoin is the best proof of work network, and that's why it's 95%. And then people that buy into proof of stake, they're going to be in a war to keep upgrading their proof of stake cryptos, and they'll keep hard forking and hard forking and hard forking. And ultimately, the competition between all of the various proof of stake networks over who's got the most functionality and who's got the most performance will devolve into a technology competition of software companies. And they will be recognized as software companies. And eventually, they'll have to register as software companies, and they will centralize. And the typical investor that wants to invest in a software company will sift between the various ones, but someone that wants to store their value for 100 years is not going to trust a software company, and a government is not going to, they're not going to actually invest their sovereign treasury in a software company stock. There's no way that a government, the United States is not going to trust a Chinese software company. China is not going to trust an American software company. And so ultimately, we'll get back to first principles, which is when 1 billion people run a node and Bitcoin miners are running in every country on earth, and no one can put their finger on the network, and nobody, the difference between me and some of these other advocates is I am quite sure I am not responsible for Bitcoin being as good as it is. And I'm sure that I can't change it. And if I disappear tomorrow, it won't make a difference. And I have enough life experience to realize that it doesn't need fixing, right? When 1 billion people are running a decentralized node, no one's going to be able to change it. It is truly a digital commodity, which makes it a basis of sovereignty and freedom and property rights for the human race for the next 1,000 years, if not 10,000 years. We might actually trace the singularity to January 1st, 2009, when humanity finally had property rights that could not be seized. And before 2009, we were living with imperfect property rights and defective money. And after 2009, we had property rights and we had energy flowing into the digital realm. And that might change humanity for thousands and thousands of years. So I'm confident and optimistic that it's a pretty important thing. I have confidence that other objective people, neutral observers, they will come to the same conclusion. The disinterested parties will come to the same conclusion. And as they come to that conclusion, the market will segment and things will sort themselves out in a rational fashion for the good of humanity.
С тобой так хорошо, с тобой и летом, и зимой, с тобой я бы всю жизнь провел, с тобой и весело, и грустно с тобой. Пустой зал, ожидание вокзала. Стою и смотрю куда-то в сторону перрона, и забыв уже, как все мне надоело, я вижу